It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of December 21st, 2001, Christmas week. And we've got a lot of movies to get to here. 6 movies in particular, 6 notable movies, and none notable, none bigger than our first movie here, and that is the beginning of Peter Jackson's epic retelling of J.R.R. Tolkien's classic stories. The novels, of course, I'm of course talking about The Lord of the Rings, starting with The Fellowship of the Ring. Yeah, you thought Harry Potter was a big gamble for Warner Brothers. Harry Potter wasn't going to bankrupt the studio. This thing fell flat big time. And considering that New Line Cinema had Dungeons & Dragons the previous Christmas, yeah, they needed Lord of the Rings to really take off because they put a lot of money into this movie. I mean, they were literally gambling the entire studio on this thing working. And that's no joke. This thing had been in development for several years, all the way back to 1997 when they first developed. When Peter Jackson first developed this with Christian Rivers, who became a director in his own right, yeah, they brought in a number of different people all the way back. This thing started shooting all the way back in 1999, and they shot all 3 films. I think they shot all 3 films back to back, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that, but I'm looking at the Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring page here while I'm looking here, but I don't see anything in particular that says that, but I mean, they shot all 3 films back to back. I'm going to say that they did, but in addition to that, they had this was a movie that they had been promoting for almost a year in advance. I mean, the first trailer came out over a year before the movie actually came out. I think she actually did put the trailer out in front of Dungeons & Dragons. And if I remember right, I think there was actually a commercial I saw on YouTube where they actually did say, you know, come see Dungeons & Dragons and then see the brand new trailer for The Lord of the Rings plastered onto it. But now I'm curious. I want to see if I can find it. Okay, I couldn't find it on there. I could have sworn I saw one commercial on there that said, you know, come see Dungeons & Dragons and see the trailer for The Lord of the Rings. But bottom line is that The Lord of the Rings was a huge gamble for New Line Cinema in many different ways. Like I said, the studio was literally riding on this thing, paying off in the end, and New Line put a lot of the effort into Peter Jackson's hands. I mean, and luckily it paid off big time because Peter Jackson did a hell of a job of bringing this epic to the big screen, and it started with the Fellowship of the Ring. The story of this one is that you have the story of the Dark Lord Sauron, who seeks the One Ring in Middle-earth, of course, which contains part of his might to return to power. As the trailer says, one ring to rule them all, one ring to find them. The ring has found its way to the Hobbit, Frodo Baggins, played by Elijah Wood. The fate of Middle-earth hangs in the balance as Frodo and 8 companions who form the Fellowship of the Ring begin their perilous journey to Mount Doom in the land of Mordor, the one place where the ring can be destroyed. And the journey begins, and from a visual perspective, from a story perspective, the fact that it's basically 3 full movies where it's nothing but, for the most part, people walking and then coming across obstacles. Peter Jackson did a hell of a job of convincing everybody that this was as epic and grand as it should be, because, I mean, this is about as close as you're going to get to something like a Spartacus or a Ben-Hur, like the classic epic movies of the 60s, and this, I mean, Lord of the Rings really was that epic film that many people wanted to be like another Spartacus, like another 10 Commandments, like those movies we had back in the day. And Peter Jackson proved to everybody that, hey, I'm the guy that can do this. And he not only proved it once, he proved it twice as well, because he did a pretty good job for the most part with The Hobbit, even though the Hobbit films are definitely not as good as the Lord of the Rings movies, but then again, they could be worse. They could be Fantastic Beasts, so to the Harry Potter series. But we got a great cast overall here, perfect casting in general. Elijah Wood as Frodo Baggins, Ian McKellen as Gandalf the Grey, Liv Tyler, Viggo Mortensen, Sean Astin, Cate Blanchett, John Rhys Davies, Christopher Lee, Orlando Bloom, Dominic Monaghan, Hugo Weaving, Andy Serkis, Ian Holmes, Sean Bean. Just great cast overall. The music of Howard Shore. Like I said, the visual flair of the movie, it really does feel like the books are coming to life. And, I mean, there's not much really more I can add to this that hasn't already been said already. And like I said, it was a big gamble, but it paid off big time for New Line Cinema. That kept them in business. Hopefully, they thought for the foreseeable future, but then How do you make three of the biggest movies of all time and then go out of business 7 years later, being sold off and cut into Warner Brothers? I mean, how does that happen? But we'll eventually get to that as we go down the road here. But Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring. What more can I say about it, man? It's an epic on so many levels, and it's one of those ones that I did not get to see in theaters when it came out. I didn't really have much of an interest in Lord of the Rings when it came out at first. But then as time went on and I was getting ready to see the Hobbit movies, I figured, you know what? It's time to finally watch these movies. I'm glad I finally got a chance to watch them after all those years because I could see what everybody was talking about. These movies are incredible. These movies still hold up. These movies are just as epic as they were when they came out. And, I mean, what more can I say, man? The Lord of the Rings is just a masterpiece on so many levels. And it's only going to get better from there because we have 2 more sequels coming after this. And those ones got better. And in a way, it got better and better as the series went on. So, but yeah, like I said, not much more to say about this one. The Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, terrific, terrific film. And so let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, a movie that literally said was going to be the next phenomenon. So if you watched Nickelodeon in 2000 and 2001, you saw a lot of promotion for this movie. You couldn't go to a movie theater, a kids' film, in 2000 or 2001. I remember, without seeing a trailer for this, I remember when 102 Dalmatians came out in November of 2000, and all of a sudden the trailer for this came out, and it took over a year for it to come out. I guess it was supposed to come out before then, but then got pushed back. But I mean, the movie had a lasting impact on a number of people who watched Nickelodeon, who watched animation back then. Especially watched the Nicktoons. It was Nickelodeon's first attempt at computer animation, and it had a lasting legacy to it. I mean, it was nominated for one of the first 3 films to be nominated for Best Animated Feature at the Academy Awards in a year where Shrek and Monsters Incorporated were in there. They decided to put this one in there too. I don't know why. I guess maybe they didn't see any other movie in there being a film that could easily compete with that, but. Of course, the movie was a success, not just at box office, critically, at the Oscars, led to a great TV series, a not-so-great spin-off series that makes Pinky, Elmira, and the Brain look like the original Pinky and the Brain by comparison with Planet Sheen. But let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to where it all began. As the story is, Jimmy Neutron is a boy genius and way ahead of his friends, but when it comes to being cool, he's a little behind, all until one day when his parents and parents all over Earth are kidnapped by aliens. It's up to him to lead all the children of the world to rescue their parents and by children of the world. I don't know why that plot just ended there. I mean, I'm looking at it just like, wait, is that really what it looked like when I made this? But when I looked up this, I should say, yeah, the synopsis has so many question marks to it, but you know what? It's a Nickelodeon movie. At this point, questioning logic in a Nickelodeon movie has become a recurring theme with these movies from the very beginning. You just gotta accept it, that not everything in these movies is gonna make a ton of sense as long as you're having fun with it. And it's a fun Nickelodeon movie. It's maybe the biggest flaw of the movie is the animation, but then again, it's 2001. It's not supposed to... I mean, we didn't really have animation like we have nowadays. I mean, it's choppy, yes, but this was Nickelodeon's first attempt at computer animation. I mean, it's not great animation, but at times, the more I watch it now, the more I can see when there are times when the animation does look very good. Like when they're in space and they have to go out through the meteor shower, or even the fun climax at the end. Like, there are times when the animation has grown on me, but for the most part, the animation still is very much a heavy flaw to the film. But then again, you have to remember that this was right early on, before everybody started to make computer animation look more refined like it does nowadays. This was still back when computer animation was still seen as more of a necessity than it was more of a. I always keep messing up this quote I want to use. When computer animation was more of an accessory than a necessity, because I always say the same thing about streaming as well. Like streaming is not really the future. I think as much as I think people want to make it out to be. I mean, it's more of an accessory than a necessity right now. I would gladly still take a physical copy of anything any day of the week, but same could be said about computer animation back in 2001. But like I said, it was still very early on in the computer animation thing, and we had no idea that was going to become the norm, not but a couple years later. But we'll eventually delve into that as we go along here. But the rest of the movie overall is very good. A strong voice cast, great characters, Very fun to watch these villains played by Patrick Stewart and Martin Short. They're goofy fun. Sometimes the writing can be really clever and very smart, too. I mean, there are a lot of jokes that pay off here. A lot of jokes very dated, but it's 2001. What do you expect? But it just works well for what it is. It's a movie where it knows it's made for kids, but it also can have an edge to it that adults can find enjoyable as well. It's got that unique charm to it that works. Even if a lot of the animation doesn't really hold up well, it's still a fun movie. I always like going back to it every once in a while, and Jimmy Neutron's just a great character overall. So yeah, hey, great adventure film. Blast off to it. Have the time of your life. I know I did when I saw this back then, but I digress. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is How High? I friggin' love How High. How much do I love How High? I bought some socks down in Disney World a couple of years ago. Yes, Disney World had How High socks. Actually, technically, it was Disney Springs inside the Stan sock store. That's a tongue twister right there. But seriously, if you ever go down to Disney Springs, look at that place, Stan's, which is surprisingly a really cool-looking sock store where they have all these different designer socks and all that. And I bought some socks down there, and they actually had How High socks. It was just like, I wish I could show them to you, but unfortunately I couldn't find them. I guess I already wore them and I didn't know about it, so that's why I don't have them with me right now. But I did buy some socks down there for How High, because I saw them and they were just like, I gotta have these because I just love this movie so much. I mean, I'm really starting to put together now that movies around this time period, stupid comedies that would never work at any other decade and would be seen as just really stupid, bad movies, just like, they're really funny movies, and How High is a stupid, funny movie that I laugh my ass off every single time. From the very beginning of this movie made me laugh so hard. Some of the ridiculousness of this film, the ridiculous elements, the plot elements make no sense. I mean, you have a story here where you have Method Man and Redman, who play two cannabis users, who are visited by the ghost of a deceased friend after smoking his ashes. So, what happens? The ghost decides to help them with their exams, and they get so much good grades that they get scholarships to Harvard University. And hilarity ensues. It's one of the most ridiculous plots you'll ever hear, and yet it makes for one of the funniest movies, funniest underrated gems, I should say, because I don't know what the following is. I guess this has a big following if they're making merchandise off of this and making socks out of it, and it can be sold inside of Disney World of all places, but I freaking love this movie, man. This is one of those movies that I always go back to. It's just like, it's one of the stupidest movies ever, but every time I watch it, there are always moments in this movie that will make me laugh out loud. Like, this movie has so many moments in this where they're so ridiculously stupid. They're so unbelievably insane of what they're trying to do here. And it's just like, you can't help but laugh at them. Like, there are so many funny moments in this film. Like, there's the whole thing with, like, in the beginning of the movie, there's, Ivory, who's the friend of Silas, and he basically dies. And then later on in the movie, when his ghost comes back to Silas, and he's talking about, you know, we're friends to the friends to that. Even if I get hit by a bus, and Method's just like, matter of fact, your ass wasn't even hit by a bus, and it flashes back to the night he dies, and like, because when the movie plays, it just ends with him falling to the ground. You think that's it, and then he gets back up, and he's just like, Ivory's just like, I made it. I can't feel my legs, but I'm alive. And then the bus hits him. He's screaming, and then he dies. It's just like moments like that are great. There's one running gag in particular here that I don't know why this made me laugh so hard when it happened, but there's a part in the movie where, of course, this is a college movie where you got to have the big hunky jock guy who thinks he's better than everybody going up against one of the characters from the movie, and that's Jamal, and his mother in this is played by Anna Marie Horsford from the Friday movies. And there's this running gag where every time he has these flashbacks and all that, his mother keeps coming in there out of nowhere, like during his dreams and all that. There's a part where they're in a canoe race, and I think they're teamed up in a canoe, and like while they're canoeing and while they're doing that, all of a sudden up in the air you see his mother lambasting him, and he's just. It's that'd be funny enough to just have his mother up in the sky, but no, they take it to another level, and they have the bully in this movie, the jerk in the movie, look up in the sky and go like, "Who the hell is that woman in the sky?" And like everybody's looking up in the sky, it's just like, I mean, it's so stupid, but it's so funny at the same time, and I think it's just because they have terrific actors all throughout this movie. I mean, not just Method Man and Redman, but Oba Babatunde, who plays Dean Cain in this, is hilarious. Melissa Peterman from Reba's in this, playing a very good role here. Mike Epps is very funny in here. You know, Fred Willard, Jeffrey Jones, Hector Elizondo, Lark Voorhees from Saved by the Bell, Essence Atkins from Girlfriends, Spalding Gray's in this, Tracy Morgan, Garrett Morris has a cameo in here, Pat Finn, you know, Chuck Liddell, Amber Smith, Cypress Hill. Like, there's a ton of incredible actors in this movie, and they make this really over-the-top and insane material work as well as it does. Excuse me. It's over-the-top. I can't talk without burping, but it's absolutely brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant stuff, man. It's stupid, but it's brilliance. I mean, there are so many memorable moments in this movie. I Need Money, played by Al Shearer, is great. There's a great moment towards the end where he very rarely talks in the movie, and Dean Cain's finally about to say, you know what, screw it, I'm going to kill these two guys who've been getting on my nerves. He's about to throw this axe at him, and he hits I Need Money, and he just goes like, oh, this motherfucker done messed up my shit. And the way he says it, like, it's like the way he says it is one of the funniest things I have ever heard. This whole movie is pure hilarity. It is so stupid. It's the laziest type of film ever, because you know what this story is going to be like. It's a story we've seen done over and over and over again, but you know what? I can't help it, man. This movie made me laugh long and hard. This movie is so friggin' funny. I mean, it's a classic movie, man. I love this movie so much. I can't recommend this one enough. If you want a good, fun, stupid comedy, like this is the type of movies that I loved back in the day, and looking back on them, this is one of those ones that still holds up very well. This is a movie that makes me laugh every time I see it. I can't recommend it enough, even if you don't know Method Man and Redman's music in general, because I don't listen to a lot of Method Man and Redman music to begin with, but I do like these guys as comedic actors. They had a show on Fox called Method and Red, which was absolutely great. Canceled after one season, of course, because it's Fox, but these guys can be very funny comedic actors, and this movie shows why. I mean, what more can I say about this movie, man? How High is absolutely brilliant. If you're looking for a fun, over-the-top comedy, How High is definitely it. I can't recommend this one enough. Definitely check this movie out. It's definitely worth the while. That's a great comedy. Now let's get to a terrible comedy. Tim Allen with Joe Somebody. But before we get to Joe Somebody, I'm praising the heavens of How High. I completely forgot that there was a movie in between them that should be talked about first, and that is, of course, not a comedy per se, but a comedic actor is in it, Jim Carrey, in a new film from Frank Darabont, and that is The Majestic. So in The Majestic, you have the story of Jim Carrey as a 1950s Hollywood screenwriter suspected of being a communist, and after suffering amnesia as a result of a road accident, he's taken in by the residents of a small town who mistake him for a local resident who went MIA while serving in the military during World War II. This is Frank Darabont, of course, who gave us The Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile, and Jim Carrey has proven he has a lot of chops, not just as a comedic actor, but also as a dramatic actor. We saw it in The Truman Show. Even in something like Man on the Moon, which was not a great film, he was still pretty good in it, but this, as much as I want to give him a lot of credit in the world for doing something that's completely outside of his norm, this is not a very good movie, and I think I know why. This is not written by Frank Darabont. He directed it, he produced it, but this is a script written by Michael Sloan, and Michael Sloan is a guy that has not really done a whole lot of notable works before this movie came out. The stuff he did before then, he was an actor with stuff like Teen Lust and Revenge of the Red Baron, and then he did the script for The Majestic, and then he'd later go on to work with Frank Darabont again on the TNT series Mob City later on down the road. He hasn't really done a whole lot as a screenwriter, and I think that was the biggest problem with the movie right from the get-go, was the fact that they went to a guy that hadn't really done a whole lot as a screenwriter, and I feel like if Frank Darabont had more hand in the script for this probably would have been a whole lot better, but because of that, the movie feels rather pretentious. It feels like a movie that is literally the definition of an Oscar bait movie, where you can tell just Jim Carrey's trying so hard to get that Oscar nomination and win, but you know, it's just not really worth it, and it's part of his performance that really is struggling to really carry the load. Like, like I said, in Man of the Moon, which is not a good movie by any means, like, yeah, Jim Carrey was notoriously known for taking it over the top with his performance of Andy Kaufman, but the guy was trying in that movie, regardless of if the movie didn't turn out that well. Here, it's just him trying to go for the Oscar, and it just didn't fly. It was the first real misfire for Jim Carrey overall, in my opinion. I think this is the one that really a lot of people looked at and said, yeah, you kind of pushed it too far with this one here, and I really wish it was better. It was what I was actually looking forward to when it came out, because I like a lot of Jim Carrey's works, but this is just like, yeah, unfortunately, it's definitely what everyone says it is. It's an Oscar bait movie, and not a very good one. It runs for too long, and I feel like if Frank Darabont had more of a hand in the script, this probably would have turned out a whole lot better. But as it is, it's a pretty bad movie overall, and it's a shame because the potential clearly is there. I mean, I think Jim Carrey can prove that he's got the dramatic acting chops, but this is just one of those ones where it's just like, yeah, it just wasn't going to work without Darabont's hand in the script overall, and Carrey actually giving a character that we can actually like, but yeah, just a complete misfire on a number of different levels. So, yeah, a pass on that one, The Majestic. So now let's get to the really bad comedy I was trying to get to beforehand, and that is Tim Allen in Joe Somebody. Hey, speaking of Jim Carrey, he actually was originally offered this movie, but he turned it down to The Majestic, so yeah, basically he would have been screwed either way if he had taken The Majestic or Joe Somebody. But Joe Somebody, this is a story where you basically have Tim Allen as an ordinary man forced into violence by a workplace buddy played by Patrick Warburton. You ever see the movie Big Bully? I mean, just take Tom Arnold and Rick Moranis out of there and put Tim Allen and Patrick Warburton in there. And while this is not as bad as Big Bully, it's pretty bad. This is one of those ones that we went to go see it because my family loved Tim Allen back then. I loved Tim Allen back then. This is directed by the same guy that did the Santa Claus and Jungle to Jungle, a guy that Tim Allen has been well known to work with. He worked on episodes of Last Man Standing with him in Home Improvement. So the pieces were definitely there for maybe something good, but the plot really is not that special. I mean, it is special. It's an after-school special, except replace the children with grown-ups. And the message of the movie overall doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and the ending really was kind of like, what was the point of this movie, Lynn? I mean, I don't get what they were trying to accomplish with this, and I thought Tim Allen was okay. I thought Patrick Warburton was not that great in here, and I like Patrick Warburton a lot. I think he's a great actor, and here he's not really given a whole lot to do. In fact, nobody here is really given a whole lot to do. Julie Bowen's kind of wasted here. So is Kelly Lynch, Greg German from Ally McBeal, who Hayden Panettiere is also in here. It was actually one of her early roles before she eventually would join Ally McBeal in the last season. And Jim Belushi in here as well. I mean, a good cast, but just not a good story or something interesting in general here. And the movie doesn't make a whole lot of sense. There are moments in this film that just really are not that funny or that interesting. Like, they have this scene in Target where it's him and Patrick Warburton, it's Tim Allen and Patrick Warburton fighting for whatever reason. Like, they're racing carts or something. Like, why are they doing this? I don't know. We're trying to fill out a runtime here. I mean, this is a $38 million movie. Where did $38 million go for a movie like this? And it's just like the movie just really just nothing happens in this movie. No, there's no purpose. There's no point. There's nothing at the end of this movie that makes me say, wow, this was all worth it in the end. It's just a big misunderstanding, and it just ends with kind of a cop-out, too. Like, I mean, I don't know what else to say about this movie. This is a bad, bad film. Like, it isn't funny. It's really devoid of all these great, talented people in front of the camera, and it just has no purpose to exist except that 20th Century Fox just wants to get the movie out for Christmas. So put this out there. I mean, this thing was literally shot in 8 weeks, but they probably were thinking, well, Jingle All the Way was shot in only a couple of weeks, and look at how well that turned out. But Jingle All the Way had a gimmick to it that actually worked, and it was actually funny. This is not. This is a movie that's just like, man, what a misfire this was. Major, major misfire. Avoid this one like the plague. I hate this movie. Joe Somebody, Tim Allen, I think you're much better than this, man. But So on that note, let's go ahead and end on a positive note. Let's take a look at the Best Picture winner of 2001, which came out on limited release this weekend, and that is Russell Crowe and Ron Howard's A Beautiful Mind. So A Beautiful Mind is basically about the mathematician John Nash, played by Russell Crowe, and the story begins in Nash's days as a brilliant but asocial mathematics graduate student at Princeton University, and after Nash accepts secretive work with cryptography, he becomes liable to a larger conspiracy, through where he begins to question his reality. And the cast also includes Ed Harris, Jennifer Connelly, Paul Bettany, Judd Hirsch, Adam Goldberg, Josh Lucas, Anthony Rapp, and Christopher Plummer. And this won Best Picture that year, and while Lord of the Rings probably should have won, it would eventually win down the road with the third film, but this is a really good movie, and I do really like it a lot. I don't think it's Ron Howard's best movie in general. I think Ron Howard's made a whole lot better films than this, but hey, it got him the Academy Award, and that's all that matters to him. I mean that's what everybody wants. I mean, everyone wants an Oscar. I mean, like I have two Oscars of my own here, but the difference is mine are actually made by Etsy, and these are ones that are actually made by the Academy. But I'm still proud of them. I like them a lot, but this isn't about me. This is about this movie here. And hey, like I said, Ron Howard finally got an Oscar that he deserved. He's a really good director, and he definitely deserves to win one. It's funny because Russell Crowe almost would have been another Tom Hanks, where he won back-to-back Oscars it's over the course of a couple of years, because he won the Oscar the year before for Gladiator, and he was considered the front runner up until he had the incident with the phone, where he threw a phone at somebody, and his anger management situation got in the way, and basically all those possibilities of him becoming another Tom Hanks went down the toilet. But I mean, Denzel Washington won for Training Day, so I guess there was something in there, and Russell Crowe got his Oscar already too. So I mean, it's not like he's not going to lose sleep over that. And Jennifer Connelly won an Oscar too, which I thought she was really good in the film. The movie really is a well-made film. It's a very interesting character study. You're following this guy, trying to figure out how he knows all this stuff and how he's going to get through these situations that he has to deal with in this particular situation, and just trying to figure out, how he's going to get out of it and try to figure out like I said, it's a very interesting character study, and Russell Crowe plays the role very well, and you can see why he was considered the frontrunner for this, because it shows how great of an actor he can really be. He really is a terrific actor, and he definitely shows it in this film. At times, there are some moments where that can be Oscar baitish, and moments where you can tell they're doing a little too melodramatic, but it never gets to the point where it ruins the ebb and flow of the film. I think the film does a very good job of handling the story very well. It's a really good movie. I can see why it won Best Picture, because it definitely is a film that is very well made. It's a film that definitely shows that there's more to the eye of the beholder. And, yeah, not much more to say about that one. A Beautiful Mind, Best Picture winner of 2001 at the Oscars, and hard not to see why. And so, with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and the next time we meet, we'll wrap 2001 up, finally, with some more notable movies coming out on Christmas Day. We have Will Smith and Michael Mann's biopic about Muhammad Ali. We have the romantic drama Kate and Leopold with Hugh Jackman and Meg Ryan. We have The Shipping News. We have Gosford Park, Ridley Scott's Black Hawk Down, Billy Bob Thornton and Halle Berry in Monsters Ball, and also Sean Penn and I Am Sam. So that is, I believe, 7 movies, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 7 movies we'll take a look at next time. So another packed show coming your way next time we meet, which will be tomorrow. But with that said, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the place on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care. Thanks for watching.